A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Welcome back to A is for Alcoholic, the weekly podcast where me and my friend Jerry and I
That's
talk
gotta
about
get out of that loop, man.
our crippling alcoholism and our
Boom.
subsequent recovery from alcoholism that has led us to sit around and talk about drinking.
Yeah.
So basically,
while not
nothing's
drinking.
changed. While
Nothing's
not drinking.
changed, yeah. Yeah, the only thing that's changed is we're not drinking. And I like to make the machine gun noise. Brah! Brah!
That's like oh no, that's not from the MAA song. That's where she clocks the Glock.
Clocks the Glock.
Clocks the Glock, and then the cash register opens up.
Oh,
That's
like
Paper
yeah.
Planes.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking great song, great sample. I remember putting it on the jukebox once in the Viking in Seattle. We were in the bar, and these two guys were like, these two hipsters were at the bar with their beards, and they were like, I fucking hate this song, and they were talking all this shit, and I was like in love with that song, so I went over there and put like $2 in and played it like 8 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that night? And it
Maybe.
just kept bum, 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 and then it would like the song would end. And then it would just start back up again. Yeah, and those two dudes left. And I was like, fuck you. That's some passive-aggressive Northwest chill right there.
It's a great song, man. It's a great fucking song. There's a great remix, and I wish I could tell you which one, but like, it's really, really good. They used to play it at the bar I worked at. The DJs would play it a lot. And this is like 2009, 8 or 9.
But that doesn't have brah in the background.
Brah.
That's more like, what's that dude, YZ?
Who's YZ?
I think it's YZ. No, it's not YZ. Anyway, he's a rapper. He's like a Crip from like Compton or something, and he does a lot of songs about drug deal, just like basic gangster rap shit. And there's always a dude in the background that's like, brah, bah, bah. And that's just, it is. I don't know, man.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. I'd love to hear like just an indie rock band just have that in the background. Like Mumford & Sons with their fucking ukuleles and little tin tambourines, and then just some dudes like, brah! With all their mason jars of candles and shit, and mason jars and little banjos, and then some fucking dude with a big ass beard, just and overalls. Brah!
So today is D for don't drink, or deep dream, or that. Do you know about the deep dream stuff?
No. Is that a PS4 game?
No, but they basically they've been teaching computers for a while now to like search for faces and things, but it's like this weird psychedelic.
Yes.
If you go to Reddit and you go to like R Deep Dream, they'll like take photos and then there's like find weird bugs, and if for some reason it's learning to find bugs in dogs' faces, and it's just very strange.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't do mushrooms at all, because I've seen that and I saw shit like that. Not similar to that when I did mushrooms. Last time I did ate mushrooms, which was got over a decade ago. God, almost 20 years ago. Yeah.
I think the last time, for me, was 1998 that I did anything psychedelic.
I don't think I did it in sobriety. Like, I know we've talked to people in the past, and I know people who are in recovery who take psychedelics, and I'm just like, and I've had people I've worked with who've been like, yo, you need to eat mushrooms that'll open up your mind. And I'm like, no, man, I don't want to freak out. But that's part of it. You need to freak out. I'm like, I don't need to freak out. I'm already freaking out about shit.
Right.
I don't need extra freak on top of my out. Thank you.
I just feel like that part of my life is finished. Any sort of idea that I would want to get high or expand my mind, and maybe that's naive, and maybe that's narrow-minded, and but I'm just like not interested in that.
It's all about what your boundaries are.
Right.
So again, like, so if that's part of your boundary, well, then people should respect that. But whatever, man, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to tell you how to do the shit you need to do. And I don't know.
So
man.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, exactly. We're two guys telling you how to do shit, I guess. But I'm not no, I don't want to tell you how to do it. I'll just tell you how I did it.
Well, I tell you how I do it currently, and how it's constantly changing for me. You know, when I I think about like, so I went to a meeting for the first time.
Physically walked into the building, huh?
I didn't walk into a building. It was in the park.
Out in the park.
So it was out in the park. There was
Bunch
only
of
about a dozen
drunks in the
people.
park.
Basically.
Yeah.
So here's the thing too. I feel like we're breaking all kinds of anonymity here, right? Because we're meeting in a public place. There's like dudes were smoking weed and doing bocce ball. Like it kept wafting over. People are joking like, up, guess we need a new sobriety date.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
But I feel like, so we went and everybody's kind of separated on the park benches or not benches, but like the picnic tables, and people had brought their own chairs, and I might do that too. And it was cool to kind of just go. And the woman who had the 5-year chip before me that I now have was there. And so it was cool to see her. And, we stood in a circle 6 feet apart and, did our prayer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like AA is beginning to more and more. I mean, ever since we started doing this, and we've kind of wanted to be very careful about how we talk about it, and we talk about the importance of anonymity, even though it's kind of silly to talk about the importance of anonymity on a podcast. But I feel like it's evolving in ways. It's being forced to, right? You go into a Zoom meeting. And if you sign up for the Zoom account, you're going to put your first name and your last name, and then it's going to pop up on the screen. And maybe you're not so savvy to know how to do that, or to black out your video. So you're just kind of popping in to listen. And so there's all these weird technological things, not to mention now people are meeting in public spaces. And I would argue that the information that I've gathered in this program is too valuable to be stuck in some weird secret cult type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my personal opinion, right? I mean, don't take my experience as a fact that the program works. Don't take the person who went in and relapsed 3 days later as experience as a fact that the program doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the program itself, I feel, is just a book. It's just words in a book, and you have to give it, like anything, you have to give it meaning, you know. And I just feel like this is a positive thing for AA. And there were some issues where the woman who was trying to put together because it's only one meeting a day now, put together this meeting, and I was surprised at how few people were there. And it kind of freaked me out, because I was like, what if more people come? And then we're not supposed to have that many people. And it's like, oh, fuck. But again, we're stuck here without any sort of real response to the coronavirus. So we just kind of do our risk management. But I just feel like there's so much valuable information, and it's such a helpful thing to just go meet in the park once a day and hang out and listen to people, even if it's just people rambling about something shitty that happened. It's not just that. It's like, oh, I found this thing that really helps me. It might help too. And I mean, I feel like it being cloaked in secrecy is important, because I feel like you have to want it enough to go seek it out, right? It can't just be, hey, subscribe to the AA way, $29.95 a month, and we will set you free. So, but also, I think it's good. I think it's good that it's kind of like seeping out into public spaces, virtually and otherwise.
Well, and the steps to me have always been in an instruction manual, and then we all interpret those instructions differently. Metaphorically, I always think about it as like there's more than one way to skin a cat, but in order to skin a cat, you need a cat. You know what I mean? And so you always got to start with the cat. And so in that sense, the cat is more like, I guess, less about like, it could be a program. The cat could be your program, I guess, or the cat that you're intending to skin could be your alcoholism, you know. But we all approach it in a different way with that same set of steps, you know, at least in this program, you know. And then there's other programs that do borrow from AA, and AA borrows from other programs as well. And I don't know. It was just always a discipline. Now for me, more than anything, it's a discipline, and I use the rules as a rough template. Okay, you know, my owning up to my shit? Am I being good to other people? Am I trying to have empathy for other people? Am I trying to help other people? Am I trying to help myself? Am I forgiving myself? Am I, you know what I mean? I don't want to speak to people in a way that I wouldn't want to be spoken to. And so I kind of use that whole thing as a rough template. I think it's great. There's too much information flying around nowadays for it to remain an anonymous program. I think, in my opinion, there's so much access to it. You can get it anywhere now. You can go to, like you said, in our current conditions, you can go to a Zoom meeting. And I think it's great that you're out in the park having a meeting with a bunch of people. I envy it. You know, would I do it? Maybe. It depends on how far apart we are. But, you know, I would probably do it because I do miss people a lot. And I miss being around other people. And I feel like as lackluster as my attendance was with the program before COVID, I still felt energized and charged by being around my own people. You know, there was that sense of belonging, even during hard meetings. You know, I still would leave there feeling like I had elevated my day in some way, you know, or elevated my experience in some way. And a lot of this podcast is taking that it's substituting that for me right now, is being able to sit with you and just shoot the shit. Has always helped me out a lot, you know, and I haven't been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. And if I do find a meeting out in a park, I may attend, you know, and sit far away and wear a mask. And
I did.
Yeah, I absolutely, because I do miss that sense of connection. You know, it's different for me than it is for you because I have people who are here all the time. My daughter's always here. My wife's always here, you know, but after a while, we just, you know, we get so used to each other that I'm like, the input of another person is valuable to me, you know. I'm glad you went and did it, you know, and it is a very interesting point that it's starting to leak out. And why wouldn't it? Like I said, information's so widely available, man. I can find a speaker.
Russell Brand wrote a whole book about it.
Wrote a whole fucking book about it, you know? Exactly. Yeah, and there's people more out and open about it now, and addiction and alcoholism are being looked at less and less as a shameful thing, and more as like, you know what I mean, like I can't think of a condition, a persisting condition, you know. So it's less like a weakness of character and more like this is a condition I live with, you know.
Or this is it's being seen in many different. I feel like there's also the level of complexity on the concept of alcoholism, whether it be something you develop, whether it be something innate in your genes, you know,
right.
all the science behind all that, plus all the spirituality. Like there's many different ways that people come to become alcoholics. There's other ways that people, they don't even call themselves alcoholics. They say, well, I had a problem with alcohol. I removed it from my life and now I'm fine.
Right.
I'm not an alcoholic. But it's just I feel like, it feels weird for me to say these things, but you know, I feel like the anonymity was born out of shame.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. The stigma that there was this, you were dipsomatic. Is that the word that they used?
Yeah, you're reading that John Barleycorn, man. I have, by the way, I have to make a confession. Yeah, I just started it. Just got past the preface. I had to skip the introduction because the introduction was so dry and boring. I was like, fuck this book. I'm not going to read it. I made it like 3/4 way through and I was like, fuck this. I'm going to just start reading. So I'm like about 5 pages in and enjoying it. And I'm like, oh, right. Because this is what I like about fucking Jack London. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the shit I like about him, not this intro. But anyway, Dipsomatic. Yes, exactly. I think it was looked at as a weakness of character and a weakness of
moral character,
of your morals,
right?
Your moral character. It was a disease of moral character back then, and I think we look at it differently now. You know,
right? And so I think Dipsomania. There you go. There's the name of the episode.
That's it.
But
a really old word.
What does dipsomania mean? Do you have a dictionary? Here, let me see.
Not on me. But yeah, but you know what? It's really interesting while you're looking it up. I've been countered with, well, why do you have a spiritual program for something you feel like is a medical problem? You can't pray away the cancer. And I always said, you know, I've been told that, you know, if you have cancer, you can't pray it away. If you have COPD, you can't pray it away. And I said, yeah, but you can meet up with a bunch of other people who have cancer and talk about your experience and learn something from them.
Yeah.
And that's what this all was. It wasn't about us all getting in a group and praying and hoping our alcoholism will go away. No, motherfucker, the alcoholism doesn't go away for me. Like, it's just me meeting up with a bunch of other drunks to deal with it, to deal with this condition that I have that keeps going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same with the cancer, man.
Yeah. An irresistible, typically periodic craving for alcoholic drink.
Woo!
So, I mean, that implies that it's periodic craving, meaning that it would come and go.
Right.
And that's true. But I think that was the original meaning, or what they used to say. And it's just it's so much different, and so much more is understood. So why wouldn't there be I mean, I'm not saying that there needs to be. I mean, honestly, I guess I am. I'm hesitant to say that AA needs to evolve, but I feel like it does. But who the fuck am I?
Reform of the program, right?
But who the fuck am I with only 5 years experience? 5 years sober and lazily being a part of it. Like, and so I don't know. That's just like my opinion, man. But
right, exactly, yeah. I think everything needs to change. I agree with you. Am I going to stand up at a meeting and be like, we need to do things differently? No, because that's not my place to do it. But if someone asks me, how do you feel about the program, or how it is in the 2020, I'll be like, yeah, there's parts of it that need to, in my opinion, should change to be more accessible, or to be more relatable. That being said, there are other aspects of it I greatly respect, like the whole 11th tradition, even though we break it constantly. But like, in the sense that, like, it not being advertised or being used to make money, like, you shouldn't monetize this thing. And I've always appreciated that this thing isn't monetized. It isn't like take Bill W's program and, like you said, pay $29.99 a month or whatever. And I mean, it just, once you pervert it that way, it just loses all of its, I don't know. To me, it just gets ugly, and I can't fuck with that, But there are aspects of it, I believe, should be modernized, or at least taken into account. Like the whole For the Wives section in the book, I've always felt is a little problematic, and there are parts of WEAG not, but like, that is neither here nor there. It's just our opinion. We're just two dudes on a podcast,
right.
Observing it as being members and also outside of it. You know what I mean? It's yeah.
I'm just really grateful that it was able to, that somebody was able to put together a meeting that we could go to and sit in. And even if there was, marijuana smoke coming from the bocce ball courts,
the bocce dudes get fucking baked.
They were having a good time, man. They were having a good time.
Boking some schmoles, dude, just feeling the day. Beautiful day out in California. Everything's shut down again. Right? Yeah.
Basically.
We're on the verge of it here too, man. We're on the verge of it. But, hey, that's a whole other thing there. But
right.
But
well, and
I'm glad you got to do it, man.
Yeah, you're still self-quarantined and
I am. I'm locked down. I am loving it in a really anxious way, because I'm starting to hit the point now where school's starting back up. And so my wife and I are discussing what her options, considering she works at the school, because I don't mind keeping Olive out of school. I'll help her out here. I mean, we did great with distance learning. I sat down with her. I did more homework with her while she distance learned than when she was at school. You know what I mean? I became more of a part of it, because when she was at school with Megan, they were working together at the school all the time, and I really didn't. By the time I got home, she was done with everything, because she had already finished it at school with her mom, or right when she got home. So I like being a part of that. I get to figure out the internal workings of her mind. She misses the social aspect of it, my daughter. And my wife and I are discussing, well, what capacity are you going to work? Because the state is paying you to work at the school. So you're going to have to figure that out. And then once we open that door and you start regularly going to a place where you are exposed to it, what's the whole point of me not going to a place where I'm exposed to it? So we're kind of in this we're just having these discussions, but I don't know. I think the state's going to do a lot of distance learning in the beginning.
Right.
Oregon tends to be fairly cautious when it comes to this kind of thing. They're not wilding out like fucking other states. Where they're just like, throw them kids in that fucking fire and see what happens. But
well, that's good. And I mean, it's good that you're good with it and you're comfortable with it, and she's, you're fine to be a part of that, and that, what a blessing to be able to have the time and energy to do it rather than being stuck, forced doing something else where
Right. So me and quarantine's weird, man. I've been really depressed. Like quarantine has really depressed me. And it's more that I watch the news and I read Twitter and I see the numbers and I feel sad because there's a lot of empathy. I feel my heart really hurts for those who have had massive loss. And I don't want to get too into that because we are doing our alcoholism podcast and we kind of do. And then, like you said, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. But despite that, though, like things are happening in my life that I've always wanted to happen, as far as like commission painting and working on art and more focusing on the thing that brings me some satisfaction in life instead of doing the thing that I need to do to pay the bills, And for years and years, I really tried to have a change of attitude about tattooing for a living, and it was just this unsurmountable thing. Like it's just I don't know, man. There was just a whole thing of like having to work within other people's parameters, other people's ideas of things and then having to like do it purely for money bothered me. And it just wasn't a medium that I was comfortable working in. I wasn't happy working in the medium, and I have to probably go back eventually, which is great because then potential clients listen to the podcast and be like, oh, great, I'm going to get the guy who doesn't like his job. But but there were aspects of it I miss, and there are aspects of it I loved. But before quarantine, like those aspects got smaller and smaller,
Sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's not that, oh, well, I get the guy who hates his job. I mean, you do anything long enough, I think you're going to get fucking burned out on it.
I mean, and culturally, we're supposed to put this face forward, and it is repeated so much on Instagram, and it was repeated so much in the tattoo shop I worked in, that we were supposed to love our jobs, and our main entire focus in life was tattooing, and all we had to care about was tattooing, and everything else could go fuck itself because it was just all about tattooing 24/7. Everything I draw is tattooing. All the media I take in is tattooing. All the podcasts I listen to are tattooing. And I just never felt that way. This was not me, man. This is my job. This is not my life. Like I have a life outside of this, I repeat that a lot in the podcast, but that's just like that. My big fourth step thing I got to deal with is me and my resentment towards my job. And sit down and write it out, figure it out, man. Go.
I don't know if I told you last week. Did I tell you about the letter I wrote to my dead father? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I think, whether it's a fourth step or not, it doesn't I don't think you need to follow. I mean, you do what you want to do, Jerry.
Right.
But, you can put it in the boxes and get the little graph or the little chart, and you can fill in the little boxes. And I found basically I was answering all those questions anyway. It was just in a long letter. So, I mean, and there's always a huge amount of resistance to any of those things. I mean, I did it the night before it was due, quote unquote, for my therapy session.
It's like fucking painful homework. You know what I mean? It's like doing homework that hurts your feelings, Yeah.
But again, this is something that we can use. You know what you need to do to deal with those resentments toward work. Now,
absolutely.
I'm not saying, oh, well, you have to do them today, or if you don't do anything about it, you're just, screwing yourself over.
Right.
Like it comes in your own time. But thank God we have these tools now, just as adults, as people, that we didn't have. I mean, Jesus, I found all those old videos of us, from back in 17, 18 years ago, more. And I'm just like, we didn't have any fucking tools. There was one. So maybe you remember this story, but Danny bought a guitar, or he had his guitar shipped to him in this giant box full of fucking styrofoam peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 5 feet tall, or however big, 4 feet tall. And so we thought it would be cool to like get in this box of peanuts. And then the box fell over, and then there was like styrofoam peanuts all over the floor. Like we were fucking rolling around in it like drunken animals. Like we thought this was fun or funny, like it was a ball pit at McDonald's, you know what I mean? Like the playland. And so I'm looking at this, I'm watching this video of me rolling around drunk in a box full of styrofoam peanuts. Should I make that available for a Patreon level tier to somebody? But I'm just saying is I had zero tools to deal with life. Like that's just what I thought was a day off and was fun. And I remember living with those, like just feeling bummed out, like, oh, there's more styrofoam peanuts and we have to keep cleaning them up. And it was impossible. And so we just lived in this house with fucking styrofoam peanuts ground into the carpet.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what the fuck, dude? And I don't have to do that anymore.
No. But if you wanted to, you could, though. Just sober. Just roll around a bunch of styrofoam peanuts.
So if I did, I would lay down a tarp, one.
Of course,
if I were going to have that kind of fun, I would lay down a tarp, I'd tape it down, I'd get the box of peanuts, I'd roll around in it. I'd make sure that the doors were closed and everything else, and then I would scoop it all up. It gets all staticky and cling to your shirt, so you'd have to make sure to wash them right away and vacuum everything, and like I would clean everything up so that I didn't have to live with this like mess. And so I think that's a valuable skill tool that we learn in recovery is, okay, well, I don't have to do that. What are the things that help me fix it? What are the things that I can, it's not just about not drinking. It's all the other shit every single day.
Well, because it keeps happening. Whether or not you're not drinking, life and all the shit happens. You can do it drunk or sober, and what's the easier way to do it, I was talking to my dad the other day about this, and he was saying during this quarantine that the numbers of overdoses have gone up in Arizona, at least, and the numbers of people being admitted to the hospital with alcohol poisoning have gone up during the quarantine. Because all people can do is, sit around and get fucked up because there's so much coming at them all day long, emotionally and physically, and like, I think that's a great metaphor for like how life just keeps fucking happening, whether or not you're fucked up. And so how do you deal with it? I mean, fucked up, your only tool is like a spatula, circus peanuts or whatever. Not circus peanuts, it's like styrofoam peanuts, and you sober up and you have access to more shit. You have access to more ways of dealing, more complex things. It's so hard because we got to use the metaphor for tools, because I can't tell you what emotional process I go through in order to cope with things. I just know that my emotional processes are different. I can look at it from a different perspective and say, oh, this is difficult. This seems insurmountable. So what are my options? And before, my options were ignore it and go get loaded to forget it. And now my options are like, I can ignore it. I can deal with it head on. I can deal with it in a subtle way. I can deal with it from another angle. I can change my perspective. I can walk away for a brief period of time and come back to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and those were those options. Like if we were playing Fallout, all those options would be grayed out. I wouldn't be able to choose them because I didn't have my points enough. I didn't have enough intelligence or strength points or endurance points in order to access those options. And now I can't access them all still, but I have a little bit more going on with that.
Right. There's I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm not repeating myself from last week, but you talk about being insurmountable, and there's this Muhammad Ali quote where he says, "It's not the mountain in front of you that's going to get you; it's the pebble in your shoe."
Yeah, I think you said that last week.
Yeah,
so my mind was blown with that too. Yeah.
So it's this, and you talk about having the tools now. You're like, oh, what do I need to do? And, step 7 was humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. And I remember that was what the meeting was about, was step 7. And I thought, well, I asked him and they're still there. And what's up with that, dude? My shortcomings are still there. And it's like, did I humbly ask him? Okay. Well, and then I would go back to the previous one. We're entirely ready. And I was like, well, maybe I wasn't entirely ready. Why wasn't I entirely ready? Well, I hadn't admitted to God, to myself, and to another human being the exact nature of my wrongs. Why hadn't I done that? I was like, oh, well, because maybe I hadn't made a searching and fearless moral inventory. Why didn't I do that? Well, and so on and so forth and so forth. You can open up the book yourself and go through the steps, and it's like they're in that order for a reason, right? Because it makes sense. And so jumping ahead or feeling resistance or feeling bothered or going, why aren't things the way that I want them to be? Is like, well, there's a process here, and you talk about your emotional process. And I think in this particular literature, and you can plug in whatever word you want for God or alcohol or whatever, however you rearrange the words, but the steps themselves makes sense in that order, because that's the process. Whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, now that we've been sober for so long,
right,
with everything. Like if I'm resentful toward my neighbor for parking on, I don't know, like on my property or something like that, and it's like, well, have I talked to my neighbor? No, I'm just sitting over here stewing, and maybe the neighbor, it's probably not about me. Most everything that's going on that I don't like is most of the time not about me.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
99.9% of the time, like if people are wronging me, it's not about me. They don't even know I exist.
Right. Unless they point directly at you and they're like, fuck you, dude. Fuck that dude right there. Step 7's always been weird for me, man, because it was really a lot of perspective change, because I was like, what? I'm supposed to ask God to just take all my problems away and it's going to do it. And I always had a problem with that, because I was like, it ain't going to, I'm not going to be like, dear God, take away my problems. Thank you. And then God just does it. You know what I mean? And even in the step, though, if you break it down, which is weird because I hate doing this pretzel logic. I see so much of it all the time, but I kind of have to do it with step 7 and be like, okay, you can humbly ask to remove whatever this is, but it doesn't mean it's going to be removed. You're just in the process of asking for it. So then is it about making an appeal to this higher power that will magically make your shit going away, or learning how to make an appeal to something that is bigger than you and learning how to ask for help, learning how to, do you know what I'm saying? So it's my pretzel logic of looking at a thing going like, oh, is it all a mystery? Is it all a riddle? Or is it just plain and simple? You ask your version of God, quote unquote, and then that version will just help you out. Because I've experienced things in my life that are, what's the word I'm looking for? A coincidence, that are convenient coincidences. And I've also experienced things that run completely opposite of the idea of a higher power. You know what I mean? Just the randomness and chaoticness of nature and life and man and all and woman and all that shit. So for me, 7 steps always been real weird. And we are in the 7th month. So a lot of the meetings are going to be like, what should we have this meeting about? And they'll be like, 7th step, you know, next month will be 8th step, you know, but, it's always been a weird one for me. All the God ones have been asking God for help have always been weird to me. And I think until I reconcile whatever my version of that is, and it'll just be what it is, you know. And I think a lot of alcoholics in the program first coming in or even been around for a while feel that way, like the whole God aspect of it, you know, the whole higher power God, but asking him, you know, humbly ask him, like, please take away my shitty fucking problem. And then God just doesn't, like, that version of God just doesn't come in and pluck it out. That idea to me is faulty. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, once again, you got to do the pretzel logic and think, well, it doesn't say that anything's going to solve it for you. It just means you're just asking for help, you know?
Well, maybe it's less of a transactional thing.
Right. See, this is the way I'm looking at it. It's transactional. Right. And literally, I look at it very literally, which fucks me up.
And maybe it's more about putting yourself, like you said, into the mindset to ask for help. And then that puts you in the mindset to be open to help. And then you are aware of it. And when help comes along, instead of being blinded by it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Or, oh, I'm so glad I ran into you. Or, oh, I'm so glad that you said that. Or, oh, I'm so glad that I read that. Or that's really, you know, when we say things like, I really needed that today. I had no idea. Like that was the coincidence.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're like, oh, I totally needed that. That's exactly what I was looking for. And it's like, well, yeah, because you put yourself in a mindset to look for it. So it wasn't this transaction thing where you're paying money for goods and services.
Right. Right. And that seems to be my problem with it, is that I tend to look at things transactional sometimes. Not all the time. But once again, this is all part of the learning process. So it either becomes clear at one point, especially with your explanation, or at least your conception of it, your perception of it, that helps clarify it for me. You know, so these things, I don't have them all figured out. And it always frustrated me when I'd go into meetings. No, frustrated is the wrong word. It always weirded me out when I'd go to meetings and these dudes are like, I ran through all 12 steps in a month, 2 months. Man, my sponsor just fast tracked me. And I'm like, man, to me, it's this process of learning things. And sometimes learning things takes a long fucking time. It's not about Yeah, yep, yes, yeah, and then going through and answering yes to all the questions, and then being like, I'm cured, boom, I'm recovered. Like to me, it was always this like talking to you, and it's a learning process. That's why we did the 12 and 12 over FaceTime to figure out what does this all mean. Like, what the fuck is Bill saying here? Does Bill even know what he's saying, or is he just making shit up to fill space? Right. Do you know what I mean? He's like, oh, the Oxford group has 6 steps. I better make it 12, or whatever it was that he was doing. I don't know. All I know is like the way I interpret things and the way I misinterpret things and what I can take and what I can leave. And so right now, I'm asking for patience and strength and acceptance. What am I asking? I don't know who I'm asking for. I'm just asking it out loud to the room. Sure. To the house. I just walk out to my wife and daughter and be like, I just need patience today, and I need strength, and I need to accept that I'm in the situation I'm in. All right? And they're like, cool, yeah, okay. And then whatever hears it or whatever it is they do.
Well, yeah.
I either get it or I don't, or I have to learn how to get it. Who knows, man?
And that's not a transaction you're making with your wife or your child.
No, I'm just saying it.
Saying it, yeah. And then but that also puts you in the mindset of it. That reinforces. We've got these little synapses in our brain. And so the more that we rewire it literally over and over and over, what are the mantras? What are the things that you say to yourself over and over and over and over again become true or become right. your baseline for being open for acceptance or, for me, I think today was about understanding and compassion. I need to have understanding and I need to have compassion. And I thought those were important today. So it's like, okay, so then and excuse me for yawning. I'm sorry.
Right, isn't that people doing their dishes right now, yawning, listen to the podcast.
Like it just it focuses where I want my thoughts to be and where I want my mind to be so that when those things come or when the opposite of those things come, I can remove myself from it. When I see somebody who's not being compassionate, when I go, oh, there's a misunderstanding here, I can be like, well, wait a second, let's step outside of it and let's try to have some understanding about the situation.
Right.
So, but again, I don't have to drink about this. I used to, and like, what a crazy thing, dude. Like, what a fucking crazy thing. Like how, like I was looking back at those videos and I'm like, I was so fucking blind and dumb. And mostly I was just confused and had never been taught any other way. And self-will run riot, literally on tape.
Right. And you were saying, you didn't know any other better way. And that's what I was going to interject with was that like that you were working with what you had. You were working with that's what you knew and you didn't know any better. So that's what you got to work with. And I think it's great as we get older, we're figuring it out. Now, I don't like that being said, I don't want to sit on my fucking throne of lies and be like, I figured it all out. Welcome to my mind palace, but like, I don't know, man. I think, what we have emotionally at our disposal is far more advanced than what we used to have. We were rolling around in peanuts with Danny, eating spaghetti in the shower and shit. And
basically, and those are all real things that were caught on video cassette in 2003.
2003. I think that was the year I broke my leg.
It was the year before. Because I was still living in Eugene, and I moved to Seattle in 2003.
Oh.
So it was like 02, I think, because it was before maybe it was 01. I don't know. But yeah, man, it goes so much deeper, and I often. Sometimes I feel like I just want a little fucking relief and I'm just tired of working on myself. And I'm just like, man, can I just catch a fucking break? Can I just can I just leave it all alone? And I think that you can. I think it's fine for me to kind of remove myself and take a break and not think about these things. Now, that's not to bullshit myself and think that everything's fine.
Right.
But it doesn't help to be in class for 12 hours a day.
Exactly. I was going to tell you, you're allowed to have a weekend,
Yeah.
You're allowed to have some time off. I mean, the work will still be there when you return to it, and as long as it's not the type of work that requires your attention constantly, it's okay to take time off. I take time off from it all the time. I'm really good at giving up. I've been very good at giving up my entire life. I have no problem. I always watch these movies and read these books, and they're like, the man never gave up and the man was relentless. And I was like, what a waste of fucking time. Like, to me, I'm like, what? So your whole life is just what? Walking uphill trying to get this one little kernel or whatever? Like, nah, if it's too hard and too much and I know that I'm not going to benefit from it anyway, I just walk away from it. Maybe I'll come back to it another day. There's nothing I can give up permanently. And now taking a break isn't the same as giving up. You're just giving a little rest. I'm great at giving a little rests too, like I don't have to do this shit all the time. I don't have to be here and sit here and be like, is this part of my inventory? Do I need to, like do this and that? No, man. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves to some extent,
They say go big or go home. And I'm like, man, I think I'd like to go home.
Yeah, I'd just like to go home. I watched Rent yesterday.
Oh, that's right, because you were in
a weird segue, but I watched Rent.
How was it?
Didn't like it.
No. It was no Hamilton.
So I'm doing my introduction to musicals, right? Because I've always loved musicals. Like I love Little Shop of Horrors. I love Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So I'm like, I need to start watching some of the classic ones. And my colleague, I know I segued into this really weird, but
go ahead.
There is no attachment to anything. But my work colleague was like, yo, you got to watch Rent. I love it. I listen to it on my walks. I think the soundtrack's great. And so I watched it. And it's like, it's supposed to be late 80s in Alphabet City in New York, Lower East Side or Lower West Side or whatever. And it's supposed to be told from Gen X's point of view. It's very Gen X. It's very our generation. There were aspects of it I really loved a lot. There were parts of it I was like, they got it. But then most of it, I was like, this is kind of corny and a little boring. Like the music's not great. The singing's okay. Like some of the women in it could sing great. The politics were awesome. The social politics were really awesome. And considering that like this came out in 96, it debuted on Broadway, and then the movie they made in 2005. So we were already kind of leaning more progressive, a little bit more in 2005. Not as much so because we had G Dubs, but it was all right. Would I recommend it to you? No. Right? And so now I got a buddy of mine who's like, man, it's my favorite. And now he's going to text me and be like, did you watch Rent? And I'm going to have to be like, there were parts of it I liked. And that's the only way I can really answer that question, because I can't be like, yo, I didn't like it. But because there were parts of it I liked.
So there's this, so you bring up, and I'm gonna try and tie this into sobriety here.
Well, everybody's addicted to heroin in it. So.
Well, there you go. Well, you said Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and you introduced me to this movie back in like 2000. This came out, maybe.
Yeah.
And I remember just being struck by it all, and how awesome the music was, and how rock and roll it was, and how beautiful and sad and painful, and this whole idea of like looking for your other half and then realizing that it was you all along, and then the whole like rebirth of putting on the show and the makeup and trying to be something you're not, and destroying yourself in the process of trying to be something you're not. And I think at the very end, spoiler alert, pause the fucking podcast if you want to watch Hedwig and the Angry Inch first. I'm going to go ahead. I know it's 20 years old.
Yes.
But at the very last scene is him just walking naked down this like lit up alleyway.
Right.
And it struck me as like, this is the birth canal to his new life of being himself. Right. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it was this really beautiful movie because I felt exactly how the character felt. I felt stuck.
Same here.
I felt outcast. I felt like I was trying to perform for something. And in the video cassette that I found, there is multiple songs where my roommate Danny, who you know, is recording me in various states of undress. Nothing weird or sexual. I just like being in my fucking underwear all the time. I just, like I was just
hey,
like,
you're a big guy. You're drunk.
I was a big drunk, and so it was like
probably summer.
Literally, there were oftentimes if we're just sitting around the house in my underwear like a fucking drunk. But it's me singing Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and he's just deciding to record me. And I was just like, and it's hard to watch. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just so embarrassing. But I think in those moments, like in those songs, you're like, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is where I feel I just want to be myself, and not really knowing how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me another 12 years of drinking extensively, and to my detriment, to finally go, okay, I got to stop. And that it doesn't come in some sort of fantastic flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this like, oh man, I really been fucking up for a long time, and I got to stop. And that really sucks too. And that sucks for a lot of reasons, right? This sucks because I don't want to stop. I want to keep having fun, but it hasn't been fun for years. It sucks because it hurts. I'm hungover all the time and I'm in pain. It sucks because I'm lonely. It sucks because I'm uncertain about what's going on out there. It sucks for all these reasons, but it's got to stop. And so I think I resonate much more with Hedvig and the Angry Inch now in sobriety than I ever did as some sort of, obnoxious drunk idiot singing along to Sugar Daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
I've recently rewatched it too in the past, during the quarantine actually, and I can totally relate. Instead of you walking down the alley naked, it's just you jogging in like
right?
your shoes, your cool shoes, just jogging out of the alley. It's like the new John. Maybe not naked though, just actually clothed, because you were usually naked before you got sober.
But yeah, I mean, it's just there's a difference between seeing a guy in jogging shorts and seeing a guy in boxers. Like obviously it's the same state of dress, but like a guy who's just rolling around in his boxer shorts has a lot more problems than the guy who's like in the jogging shorts.
Jogging shorts, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, the guy in the boxers is really got his priorities set a lot differently than the dude in his jogging shorts. So it's just you running down an alley shirtless, coming out, being reborn as this new thing. That's great. Yeah, I love that movie, and everything. I just absolutely resonates with me. That's what appealed to me too, is that sense of other, and I didn't realize that sense of other is what fueled me the entire time I was drinking, was feeling like that sense of other and sense of wanting to belong, but not wanting to belong with all the normal people. I wanted to belong with all the others. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to fuck with any of that mainstream shit. I wanted to be around all the strange people. I still want to be around all the strange people. I still love them, but I just don't have the time to do it fucked up anymore. You know what I mean? Like the experience isn't the same. It's a false experience. It's a false narrative. Alternative facts.
For sure. I mean, that's a trick we play on ourselves all the time.
Awesome.
And it's just me. It really resonates a lot more in recovery. And the whole idea in the movie about, being split in half and looking outward for your other half, looking outward for the answers, looking outward for something else to fix you, someone else to come and fix you.
Right. It's such a faulty chain of thought. This other will fix me. Yeah.
And then coming to find out that, I had to sit down and cry and write and think and stop my behaviors that were destroying me.
And
That's
listen.
What I do. And listen.
Listen and learn other behaviors from listening. Yeah, hell yeah. So yeah, this is my intro to my musicals. We watched Sweeney Todd a few weeks
I don't know that one. That's the barber.
Johnny Depp or whatever. I remember watching it back in the day and being really disappointed because I'm like, this isn't a cool Johnny Depp movie. They're just singing the whole time. And I watched it again recently, and I love the costuming and I like the story. I just didn't like any of the music. The music didn't appeal to me. Same with Rent. Like the music just didn't appeal to me. I think Hamilton fucked it up for me because it was just such a well done, well crafted piece of art that I'm like, everything else now has to hold up to this bar. We're gonna do Les Miserables, the one with Russell Crowe, because I wanted to see what he's got going on. It's like 2.5 hours long though, but
Jesus.
Yeah. And then after that, I don't know. I might do the Baz Luhrmann ones, but
is that Romeo and Juliet or
yeah,
no? That's
fucking Moulin. Is that Moulin Rouge?
Moulin Rouge, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember watching it once and being like, ugh.
Why don't you go deep into do Into the Woods as Sondheim or
I did Into the
Woods. Penzance.
I have not done Pirates of Penzance since I was a fucking baby, since I was like 6 or 7. Megan and I did Into the Woods. I'm thinking about redoing it again just to see. But yeah, I'm curious. Even doing like fucking West Side Story, some of the older ones, I'm very curious about. La La Land is like one of my favorite musicals. There's something about it. I run to that soundtrack.
Oh, really?
But dog, yeah,
Nice.
those first two songs are fucking bangers to run to, dude.
All
Yeah,
right.
and Hamilton, the King George's song in Hamilton, it's such a pop song, but I run to that one too.
Do you think they'll ever do like a Bill W. musical?
God, I
Step
hope
one.
not, dude. Step one.
We admitted we were powerless over alcohol.
Yep.
Hold your hands, everyone. Get together. Call your sponsor. Your sponsor.
It's like, shh, don't say shit. Shh, don't say shit.
Anonymity.
Anonymity.
I don't know. That's the best. That's my impression of musicals.
And it's a DUI. A DUI. Gonna spend the night in the jail tonight.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah,
I think I just feel like in sobriety, I'm also much calmer when it comes to all the issues and problems that come up. I'm not as reactive. I used to be so reactive and so like everything was a knee jerk. It was like everything was, don't do that. That's gross. That's spiky. That's weird. I can't do that. That's too much. No, everything I had to make a 180-degree turn and like just turn the other way and run from it. So if it was like if the bill collector calls, you ignore it. If your relationship is bad, you ignore it. If you go, whatever it was, I hate my job. Well, I'll just fucking be bad at it.
Right. Or just not go and then
just
get fired and find another one, or come back later and apologize and see if they'll keep you again. Yeah. I'm still a little reactive, but I work on it. Every day I tell myself, well, was that appropriate? Maybe next time don't do that, but that's just kind of, I don't know. That's one of my things I work on.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, there's nothing wrong with being somewhat reactive to things. Like of course human beings, we're going to have reactions.
That's what we do. Yeah.
That's fine. But I just don't have to, I don't have to take them to the extreme. I don't have to let them define me for the day or, live in them for so long. I can be I'm just much more calm and relaxed now than I ever was. Before I was I get anxious, I get high strung. The world is fucked right now.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ, not again today. But the stuff was going on while I was sleeping too. And the stuff has been going on. It's just amplified and we're more, we have access to all the information. I mean, turn off your goddamn phone, John. You don't need to feel all the fucking awful shit that's going on every single day. You have enough that's going on inside your own head. But I don't have to drink.
You don't, maybe.
That's a crazy thing to say when I really, really think about it. You're like, because that, before it was like, I need to drink. I want to drink. It was a fun thing. And I don't need to anymore. And it's like, oh shit, I needed to. I had to. It was this thing that it superseded everything else. And you don't realize, I didn't realize how much and how blind I was. I mean, and thankfully I have these old videotapes. I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff. I don't think
sounds
anything.
Like you've watched them and that's been your thing this week.
And I'm just like, ugh.
Just cringing at yourself constantly.
Basically.
Yeah. And then I know you're going to send me a link to something. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, really?
I'm going to chop this one up. It's a lot of it is just too fucking long and like boring,
right.
I mean, nowadays with all of the video editing apps and everything that we all know about putting stuff together and all that stuff, back then you just kind of let the camera roll and you're like, you're not focusing on anything. You're moving around, especially when you're just drunk with an old ass video camera from 20 years ago. But it really has, like, I think it's important. And I don't know about you, but I still struggle with the whole, you will not regret or shut the door on it.
Oh, all the time. I cringe just from thoughts of shit I did. I still cringe, like physically go like, oh, dude, you did that. Oh, man, you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Oh, you need to apologize for that.
And, who do you apologize to, and can you apologize? And I don't know. I mean, I think that the first step for me is always to write it down and like dig through it, and not just in my morning journal, but to grab something else. And it doesn't have to be something that I keep even, right? It's just the process of writing it down.
I whisper it into a well.
No, you don't, do you?
I blow up a balloon and then I whisper it into the balloon and then let the balloon go in the room, and it just, all the bad stuff goes away with it. No, I don't know. I mean,
whatever. Yeah.
I let it die on the vine because I'm dysfunctional. No, I deal with it my own way. I whisper it into a well. I wish I had a well. I don't have a well.
You don't go in the closet and whisper it, but you could.
I whisper into my shirt sleeves. And that's where it lives now.
You could.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think whatever works and whatever the process is, and it's like the process is not going to be. It's not going to fix itself today, right? No, it's not probably not good, but I mean, if you've been working on it, and then and I've had the way that epiphanies have come to me is it's always something that I have dealt with and worked on, and then something turns the corner, or my perspective or my perception of it, and like, oh, wow,
man, I don't even realize it's an epiphany till after it's happened. Like way after, and I'm like, oh shit, that was a breakthrough, wasn't it? That was like 2 hours ago, Yeah, it never happens while it's happening. Yeah, and I really want to reiterate that it doesn't like what you said, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen like that. We live in a culture where everything is very quick now, and I can be like, what the fuck were the words to my Sharona, and I can just get them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we could figure out whether or not Macy Gray was in fucking Training Day, instead of it being a 6-month-long bet, because there's no IMDb in 2000 and
right. That was 99. Yeah,
99, right? So for me, sometimes I feel like I've conditioned myself to have everything now, so my problem should be solved right now, instead of realizing, oh no, this is a process. There needs to be research done, or there needs to be an experience had before this will resolve itself or become resolved.
Right, and I for sure, and I think that's. I don't want to say that people. I'm hesitant to give advice because everybody's different, right? But
right.
I think that not having lower expectations, but managing my expectations was important.
Yeah.
Because I had pretty low expectations at the time. I didn't think anything was going to work, right? And that's I think a lot of people are, but managing them was really helpful because what would happen is I'd be going through the steps or working with my sponsor or something like that, and be like, this is going to fix me and everything's going to be great, and then it wouldn't be great, and then I would be like, so I'd be looking for somebody to blame.
Yeah.
Somebody else, not myself. I'd be looking for somebody else to blame.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there. So that's the dipsomania.
The dipsomania. Hey, remember what Macy Gray said in Training Day? She said, bitch ass, punk ass, crooked ass cop. I remember that I don't know why I remember that. She's like smoking a cigarette. She goes, bitch ass, punk ass, crooked ass cop. And Coda went, that's Macy Gray. And you went, that's not Macy Gray. No, one of you guys said that's Macy Gray. And then Coda, one of you disagreed and one of you agreed. And it was like a fucking thing, because it was 1999 and nobody had the fucking, was it Training Day? Yeah.
Training Day.
Nobody had the Training Day box on us. We didn't have the box on us, so we couldn't even tell.
Like somebody just had a raw Training Day DVD or something rolling
that had
around.
Like no credits, apparently.
Right.
Why did we never stop to look at the fucking credits? It was like a thing. It was like a whole thing.
I wonder if she was credited now. I think I thought it was, and he thought it wasn't, and we argued, and it was like a 6-month argument. I don't know how long it was, but it was pointless, and we just got fucking drunk, and we would just argue and repeat ourselves. Jesus Christ, over and over every night at the bar, arguing about whether or not Macy Gray was in Training Day. Like, what the fuck? There are bigger problems. There are bigger problems in my own life, let alone the world.
Yeah. Bitch ass, punk ass, crooked ass, cops.
But yeah.
The cigarette.
So take care of your dipsomania out there, folks. You dipsomaniacs.
Yeah, keep an eye on the deep for Dipso, dude.
And the cravings, then nothing lasts forever.
It doesn't.
So enjoy the good and weather the bad.
Be kind. Be careful out there.
Be compassionate, and we will we'll see
you
next week, Jerry. Yes.
Wear your mask, everybody. Please wear your mask. I know. Just wear it. Just do it so we can go outside and do stuff again.
Yeah.
Just put that shit on and we'll be fucking rolling by next year.
Mask it or casket, Jerry.
Mask it or casket, motherfucker.